Our church needs to be truly aligned with our evangelistic mission statement. If we say that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do. We worship and we fellowship and we teach and we do communion. Why don't we teach you how to do evangelism? Why don't we teach you to reach out to people? Most churches, we're probably the exception, would never ever consider missing the collection. How many miss giving the gospel? How often are you personally sharing your faith with others? So I'm leaving you with two options. This is what you can do from here on. You can either change the mission statement, or you can try and make evangelism an actual priority. So those are your options. How do we start to truly make evangelism a priority in our church? And these are a few ways. And the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to not even suggest you're going to do it, but we have to do this to make this a higher priority. And the first thing that you have to do is we need to pray. If we want to get our churches to evangelize, then we must pray for them to start. We must pray that God would make it a priority in our own lives at the same time. I pray that God makes me aware of the need for this to be a priority in my life. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is pray. The second thing you need to do is you need to live. Well, that wasn't particularly hard. We're already living. If you aren't living the cause of evangelism, then how can you expect anybody else to live it? We have to set the pace. You have to set the pace with our lives and our lips, and we have to call those around us to join us. Pray. Live. Inspire. Whether it's through the stories of changed lives or unveiling the eternal realities of what's at stake, or focusing on passages of scripture that command or compel us to share the gospel, we must inspire those around us to relationally and relentlessly share the gospel in their specific spheres of influence. Pray, live, inspire. Those things you can do yourself. Equip. Well, you might need a little bit of help with that one. Ephesians tells us that the purpose of the evangelist in a congregation is not to do all the evangelism, but to equip God's people for works of service. His purpose for giving you this instruction to go out and evangelize, or to be a pastor, or to be a teacher, his purpose in doing so was to equip God's people for the work of serving and building up the body of Christ. All the rest is all good and well. You're praying and you're living and you're inspiring and you're being trained. But if you don't deploy, that's pointless. So how do you make sure that there are boots on the battlefield? How do you make sure that the bayonet hits the bone? Make sure that you're actually deploying. Make sure that you're actually doing it. And this is what James says. And he's pretty blunt about it. He says, you must be doers of the word, and not only hearers who mislead themselves. Those who hear but don't do the word are like those who look at their faces in a mirror, and they look at themselves and they walk away and they immediately forget what they were like. But there are those who study the perfect law, the law of freedom, and continue to do it. They don't listen and then forget, but they put it into practice in their lives, and they will be blessed in whatever whatever they do.